Archaeologists exploring ancient Egyptian tombs found something unexpected inside glass jars. They discovered pots of honey over 3,000 years old, perfectly safe to eat. A tiny insect engineered a biological food source that outlasts the empires that harvested it. The environment forces this level of engineering. Flowers shut down when winter hits, and the raw nectar bees collect from them is 80% water. Left alone, it will either rot in the hive or freeze solid when the temperature drops. To survive the seasons, the colony developed a shelf-stable, concentrated energy supply that never spoils. Supplying that energy requires 50,000 individual bees operating as a highly coordinated smart city. They rely on a wireless chemical network of pheromones to stay in sync, while foragers perform a precise figure-8 movement called the waggle dance to dispatch workers to the most productive flowers. Once a bee lands on a flower, she unrolls her proboscis. This is a long, flexible tongue that functions as a high-tech biostraw, pulling the watery raw nectar up into her body. This diagram of a bee's anatomy shows exactly where that nectar goes. It bypasses her digestion entirely and enters a dedicated technical storage tank called the crop. A one-way valve known as the proventriculus traps the nectar here. Keeping the nectar entirely isolated from the bee's own food ensures the raw material arrives back at the factory floor as a pure, uncontaminated payload. The manufacturing pipeline begins the moment a forager returns. She regurgitates the raw liquid and passes it mouth to mouth down a long line of younger house bees. This molecular model illustrates what the bees are actually passing back and forth, a complex sucrose molecule. It holds immense amounts of locked energy, but it is too complex for the hive to use directly. They have to crack it open. During the transfer, the bees inject an enzyme called invertase. This enzyme forces the sucrose to break down into two simpler, highly usable sugars, glucose and fructose. They follow this with a second enzyme, glucose oxidase. This triggers a reaction that produces gluconic acid, dropping the mixture's pH to a highly acidic 3.9. The reaction also leaves behind a trace amount of hydrogen peroxide to kill off harmful bacteria. The resulting compound is a sterile, medical-grade bioshield. Yet it still holds far too much water. If stored in this state, it would ferment into an alcoholic bee beer, which would easily destroy the colony. To strip out the remaining water, the bees shift from chemistry to mechanical physics. They paint the watery syrup in thin layers across the honeycomb walls, rapidly increasing the surface area exposed to the air. This 3D thermodynamic wireframe maps how the hive acts as an industrial dehydrator. Groups of house bees stand at the entrance and flap their wings continuously. They become living fans, driving dry air in and forcing a powerful cross breeze of moist air out. This intense airflow drops the water content to exactly 18%. At this specific ratio, the liquid achieves perfect viscosity, becoming so thick and dense that it physically cannot leak out of the comb. The colony stores this liquid in cells with a specific geometry. While circles would leave empty gaps and squares lack structural strength, the six-sided hexagon uses the least amount of wax to hold the maximum amount of honey. This strategy allows a wax structure to support 30 times its own weight. As a final step, the bees produce fresh wax and cap every single cell, hermetically sealing them against outside moisture. By pairing mathematical geometry with a high viscosity fluid, the colony locks millions of calories inside a secure liquid glass vault. What the bees have created is a self-cleaning biological battery with an infinite shelf life. This thermal visualization reveals exactly what that battery powers. In the dead of winter, bees do not hibernate. Instead, they cluster tightly together and run a continuous heat engine. The workers consume their high-octane fuel reserves, utilizing the energy to violently vibrate their wing muscles. This shivering generates enough friction and ambient heat to keep the colony from freezing to death. That same honey reserve also funds the production of royal jelly. This potent secretion sustains the queen bee, granting her the immense energy required to lay up to 2,000 eggs in a single day. The thermal survival of the winter cluster and the immense reproductive output of the colony are funded exclusively by the efficiency of their stockpiled honey. Humans have recognized the value of this engineering for 10,000 years, transitioning from scaling cliffs for wildcomb to providing the bees with safe traditional housing. Today, beekeepers deploy artificial intelligence. Modern monitors continuously listen to the acoustic vibe of the hive, detecting subtle signs of stress long before a human inspection would. We map out pollinator highways, vast corridors of blooming wildflowers planted specifically to provide reliable charging stations for foraging bees navigating our modern landscapes. Even as laboratories attempt to engineer robotic cyber bees to replicate their function, the technology falls short of the natural blueprint. A single teaspoon of honey represents the collective life's work of a dozen bees and the harvest of millions of individual flowers, a dense energy supply manufactured using nothing but air, water, and sunlight.